Hey there, friend. Are you tired of forgetting English words just after learning them? Don't worry. You are not alone. Remembering vocabulary can feel like a huge challenge, but with the right approach, it can become surprisingly easy and even fun. Words are the building blocks of language, and the more you remember, the more confident you will feel when speaking, writing, or understanding English. Imagine being able to recall new words effortlessly, using them in conversations naturally, and understanding everything you read without stopping to check a dictionary every few minutes. That's the power of having a strong vocabulary memory. In this video, I'm going to share 6 effective ways to remember English vocabulary that actually work. These methods are practical, easy to apply, and based on real learning strategies that successful English learners use every day. Whether you are a beginner, intermediate, or advanced learner, you will find tips that fit your level. By following these techniques, you'll not only remember words better, but also use them confidently in sentences and conversations. So, if you want to stop forgetting words and start building a solid vocabulary that sticks, stay with me till the end. Let's make learning new words exciting and effective, and turn your English journey into something you truly enjoy. Way 1. Use words in context, not alone. One of the biggest mistakes learners make when trying to remember English vocabulary is learning words in isolation. They memorize lists of words, repeat them over and over, and then quickly forget them because there is no connection to real life. Words are not just random symbols. They have meaning, emotions, and situations attached to them. To really remember a word, you need to see it, hear it, and use it in the context of a sentence, story, or conversation. For example, instead of just learning the word celebrate, you can create a sentence like, "I will celebrate my birthday with my friends next week." This way, your brain starts linking the word with an experience, a feeling, and a situation, which makes it much easier to recall later. You can also use vocabulary in mini-stories or dialogues. Imagine writing a short paragraph about your day using 5 new words you learned. By placing the words in context, you are teaching your brain how they function in real life, how they relate to other words, and when to use them naturally. Another effective technique is to connect words to pictures, videos, or situations you see around you. For example, if you learn the word gigantic, you can think of a huge building, a giant tree, or even a large pizza you once saw. Visual connections make words more memorable because your brain remembers images faster than plain text. Speaking words aloud in context also strengthens memory. Try repeating sentences with new words in front of a mirror or with a friend. This not only reinforces pronunciation but also helps you internalize meaning and usage. Over time, using words in context makes your vocabulary active, not passive. Instead of remembering a word for just a test, you can recall it instantly while talking, writing, or thinking in English. The key is consistency. Every day, try to write small sentences, create mini dialogues, or describe situations using your new words. The more you connect words to real-life contexts, the stronger your memory will be. Using context transforms learning from rote memorization into a living, practical skill that sticks with you for the long term. Way 2. Practice active, recall, and spaced repetition. A powerful method to remember English vocabulary is through active recall combined with spaced repetition. Active recall means actively testing yourself on the words rather than just reading or listening passively. Many learners make the mistake of simply going over their word lists or flashcards without truly engaging their memory. This approach is much less effective because your brain does not have to work to retrieve information. On the other hand, active recall forces your brain to pull the word out of memory, which strengthens neural connections and helps long-term retention. For example, instead of reading the word enthusiastic over and over, cover the definition and try to recall it by thinking of a situation where you felt enthusiastic. You can also write the word and its meaning from memory, or use apps that encourage testing rather than just passive review. Spaced repetition takes active recall a step further by timing your practice sessions in a way that aligns with how memory works naturally. Research shows that reviewing information at increasing intervals, first after a day, then after a few days, then after a week, and so on, dramatically improves long-term retention. You can use digital tools like flashcard apps with spaced repetition algorithms, or create your own paper-based system. The key is not to cram, but to review regularly at the right intervals. For example, you might learn 10 new words today, then review them tomorrow, then 3 days later, then a week later. Each time you successfully recall a word, your brain strengthens the connection and makes it harder to forget. Another effective strategy is to combine active recall with context. When testing yourself, try to create sentences with the words or imagine a conversation using them. For instance, if the word is curious, you could ask yourself, "What am I curious about today?" and answer in a sentence using the word. This not only reinforces meaning but also helps your vocabulary become active, so you can use it naturally in speaking and writing. To make this process more engaging, turn it into a daily habit. Set aside small, consistent time blocks for active recall and spaced repetition. Even 15 minutes a day can be far more effective than hours of passive reading or highlighting words. You can also combine this method with other memory tricks, like visualization or association, to further enhance recall. For example, imagine a curious cat exploring every corner of a room to remember the word curious. By forcing your brain to actively retrieve and repeatedly encounter words over spaced intervals, you create a strong mental framework that makes forgetting much less likely. Over time, this approach not only helps you remember individual words, but also trains your brain to learn vocabulary more efficiently, making every new word easier to retain. The combination of active recall and spaced repetition is a scientifically proven method used by language learners, students, and memory champions worldwide, and applying it consistently will dramatically improve your English vocabulary. Way 3. Connect words with images and emotions. One of the most effective ways to remember English vocabulary is by connecting words with vivid images and emotions. Our brains are naturally better at remembering things that evoke feelings or strong mental pictures, rather than plain abstract information. When you learn a word, try to imagine a scene, object, or situation that represents it, and if possible, attach an emotion to it. For instance, if you are learning the word thrilled, don't just memorize the definition, very excited or happy. Instead, visualize the moment you received amazing news, such as winning a prize, meeting someone you admire, or reaching an important goal. Feel the excitement, the joy, the energy of the situation, and say the word thrilled in your mind as you do. By linking a word to a real-life experience or a strong emotion, you make it far more memorable because your brain stores emotional and visual memories more effectively than abstract ones. Another technique is to use drawings or mind maps. Even if you're not an artist, simple sketches can create a strong visual link. For example, for the word enormous, you might draw a huge elephant or a mountain and write the word next to it. Each time you recall the image, the word comes back effortlessly. You can also use color coding to strengthen memory. Highlight words based on their emotional weight or type. Positive words in green, negative words in red, or abstract words in blue. The visual cues act as triggers for your memory. Moreover, combining images with storytelling enhances retention even further. Imagine creating a short story where your new words appear naturally. For example, if your words for the day are gloomy, delighted, and adventure, you could tell yourself, "On a gloomy morning, I felt delighted when a new adventure appeared at my doorstep." The sentence gives context, triggers emotion, and paints a picture in your mind, making all three words much easier to recall. Using emotions is particularly powerful because emotional experiences release chemicals in your brain that strengthen memory pathways. When you feel something, your brain automatically stores it as a significant event, which means words tied to emotions are far less likely to fade away. This approach also makes learning more fun and personal because you connect language to your own life instead of treating it as a cold, mechanical exercise. Over time, as you practice visualizing and feeling words, your vocabulary grows naturally, and recall becomes almost automatic. You start associating not only the meanings but also the feelings, contexts, and images connected to each word. This technique works beautifully for both concrete and abstract words, as long as you can find an image or emotion to link to them. By consistently practicing this method, your vocabulary will no longer be a list of words to memorize. It will become a living, vivid part of your thinking and speaking. In short, connecting words with images and emotions transforms passive learning into an active, memorable, and enjoyable process, allowing you to remember English vocabulary effortlessly and use it confidently in real-life situations. Way 4. Speak and write new words regularly. A crucial way to remember English vocabulary is by actively using the words you learn through speaking and writing. Many learners make the mistake of only reading or listening to new words, hoping that exposure alone will make them stick. While passive learning can help to some extent, it is far less effective than actively producing language. When you speak or write using new words, your brain not only recalls the meaning, but also practices the context, pronunciation, and natural usage, making retention much stronger. For speaking, you can start by incorporating new words into everyday conversations, even if it feels awkward at first. For example, if you learn the word astonished, try using it the next time you talk to a friend. "I was absolutely astonished by the movie last night." Speaking aloud engages your muscles, memory, and hearing simultaneously, creating multiple pathways in your brain for the same word. Repetition through natural usage ensures the word becomes part of your active vocabulary, not just something you recognize when reading. Writing is equally important. Start by keeping a daily journal or diary in English, and consciously use your new vocabulary. You can write short stories, personal experiences, or even imaginary scenarios using 5 or 10 new words each day. For example, if today's words are reluctant, confident, and admire, you could write, I was reluctant to join the class at first, but after a few days I felt confident and began to admire my classmates' dedication. Writing sentences or paragraphs like this forces your brain to retrieve the words actively, reinforces their meaning, and solidifies their usage. Another effective technique is to practice speaking to yourself or recording your voice. Describe your day, your plans, or your thoughts using new words. Listening to your own voice helps identify mistakes and strengthens auditory memory. You can also practice speaking with language partners or in online language exchange groups, making learning interactive and practical. Combining speaking and writing is powerful because it engages multiple senses and reinforces memory from different angles. Words that are spoken, heard, and written repeatedly are far less likely to be forgotten. Over time, this habit transforms your vocabulary from passive recognition to active use. You start thinking in English and automatically recall words without effort. Consistency is key. Daily practice, even in small amounts, creates a strong habit that ensures words stick in long-term memory. The more you use words in real-life communication, the more natural and intuitive they become. By making speaking and writing a central part of your vocabulary learning strategy, you give words life and purpose, ensuring that they are remembered and ready to use whenever you need them. This method not only improves memory, but also boosts confidence, fluency, and overall communication skills, turning your vocabulary into a powerful tool for expressing yourself clearly and effectively in English. Way 5. Group words by theme or association. Another highly effective way to remember English vocabulary is to group words by theme, category, or association. Instead of memorizing random lists of words, organizing them around topics or relationships makes it much easier for your brain to retain and recall them. Our brains naturally store information in networks, so connecting new words to related concepts, situations, or categories creates mental pathways that make recall faster and stronger. For example, you might group words related to emotions such as joyful, anxious, excited, and frustrated. By seeing these words together, you start to understand subtle differences in meaning and usage, and remembering one word often triggers recall of the others. Thematic grouping works well for everyday situations too, like food, travel, work, school, or hobbies. For instance, if you are learning words related to travel, you could focus on itinerary, reservation, passport, sightseeing, and destination together. When you later talk about travel, all these words come to mind naturally because your brain has already linked them in a meaningful context. Another strategy is to create associations or mind maps. Draw a central word like ocean and branch out with related words such as waves, tide, current, shore, and storm. This visual representation strengthens memory because your brain sees the words as part of a connected network rather than isolated pieces of information. You can also make personal associations. Connect words to your own life experiences, favorite movies, songs, or books. For example, the word courage might remind you of a character in a story who faced challenges bravely. By linking new vocabulary to something meaningful and familiar, your memory becomes much stronger. Grouping words also allows for easier review and practice. Instead of revisiting long random lists, You can focus on specific clusters, which makes studying more efficient and less overwhelming. Additionally, associating words together helps you use them in sentences and conversations naturally. When discussing a particular topic, you already have a ready set of words to express yourself clearly. Over time, these thematic connections grow into a rich web of vocabulary in your mind, allowing you to retrieve words quickly and use them effectively. Combining this method with other techniques, such as visualization, speaking, and writing, makes it even more powerful. For instance, you can create a short story using all the words in a theme, or describe an experience aloud while using a cluster of related words. By consistently organizing and practicing vocabulary in meaningful groups, you transform learning from memorization into a structured, logical process that your brain can easily handle. This method not only improves recall, but also enhances your ability to communicate naturally and confidently, because words are no longer isolated. They are part of a connected mental framework that grows stronger every time you use it. Way 6. Engage all your senses while learning. The sixth and final way to remember English vocabulary effectively is by engaging all your senses during the learning process. Our brains are more likely to retain information when it is experienced through multiple channels: seeing, hearing, speaking, and even touching. Most learners focus only on reading or listening, which limits memory strength because only one or two senses are involved. To make vocabulary stick, involve as many senses as possible. For instance, when you learn a new word, say it out loud while writing it down. Speaking the word reinforces pronunciation and activates your auditory memory, while writing it engages muscle memory. Simultaneously, visualize a picture or scene related to the word. If you are learning the word serene, imagine a calm lake surrounded by mountains at sunrise and feel the peace in the scene. This combination of visual, auditory, and emotional cues dramatically improves recall. You can also use real objects or physical experiences to strengthen memory. If you learn the word fragrant, smell a flower or candle while repeating the word. Associating a tangible sensation with vocabulary creates a multi-layered memory that is difficult to forget. Another powerful technique is to listen to music, podcasts, or videos where the words are used in context. Hearing words in natural speech, with tone and emotion, gives your brain multiple connections to the meaning and usage. You can even try acting out words or gestures. For example, when learning the word stretch, physically stretch your arms while saying the word. This kinesthetic learning adds yet another layer to memory retention. Combining these sensory experiences creates a rich, immersive learning environment. Your brain doesn't store words as isolated symbols. It stores the complete sensory experience, making recall faster and more reliable. Additionally, using multiple senses makes learning more enjoyable and engaging, which further improves memory. You are no longer memorizing boring lists. You are creating experiences, stories, and moments tied to each word. Over time, this method trains your brain to encode and retrieve vocabulary efficiently. Even abstract words can be learned this way by linking them to emotions, images, sounds, or movements. By consistently practicing multi-sensory learning, your vocabulary will grow not only in quantity, but also in depth, and words will come to mind naturally when you speak, write, or think in English. Engaging all your senses transforms vocabulary learning from a passive activity into a dynamic, memorable, and effective experience, ensuring that the words you learn today will stay with you for years to come. Final words. Remembering English vocabulary doesn't have to be difficult or boring. By using these 6 methods, placing words in context, practicing active recall and spaced repetition, connecting words with images and emotions, speaking and writing regularly, grouping words by themes, and engaging all your senses, you can transform the way you learn and retain new words. Each technique strengthens your memory, boosts your confidence, and makes learning English more enjoyable and practical. The key is consistency. Make these strategies a part of your daily routine, and you will notice that words start coming to mind effortlessly, whether you are reading, speaking, or writing. Your vocabulary will grow naturally, helping you communicate more clearly and confidently in any situation. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Impressive Learning English for more practical lessons that make learning fun and effective. Hit the notification bell so you never miss new strategies, tricks, and techniques to improve your English every day. And join our community of learners who are taking their English skills to the next level.